Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us. My name is Tim Graham, General Manager of hotspotting.com.au, and I'm delighted to be your host of today's webinar titled Perth, the nation's strongest property market. Before I introduce our guest for today, a quick background for you on why we believe that Perth is in fact leading the nation on price growth. The property industry has traditionally measured market performance using median price changes, but this is a flawed tool for depicting real estate fortunes. At Hotspotting, we believe that changes in sales volumes are a far more relevant and useful tool for depicting future opportunities for growth markets. Our price predictor index at Hotspotting is a tool based on trends in sales volumes, i.e. the number of sales that occurred in the previous quarter. History shows that there's a strong correlation between sales volumes and future price movements. The number of sales changes first and then prices react later. This is true whether markets are rising or falling. The higher volumes are a reflection of demand. This means that investors can buy ahead of price growth by finding locations where sales volumes are rising. Perth is currently the nation's most vibrant market, with 2/3 of its suburbs currently listed as rising or maintaining consistency in their sales volumes. And this is being led by the middle market and the more affordable areas. Someone who's been a trailblazer on the Perth market is Zen Christofi, the Chief Operating Officer and Head of Research at Reventon. And today we're lucky enough to have him join us as he shares some of his insights on the Perth market, along with some opportunities that he sees in the West Australian capital. Zen, welcome and thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tim. Appreciate it.
I'm actually glad to see you turn up today. I thought the lid might have been off after the big Collingwood Anzac Day win yesterday, mate.
Well, 7-0 in the final quarter.
Unbelievable.
I think the lid's got to come up after a performance like that, Tim.
100%. You're not jumping on Ticket Tech and buying tickets for the grand final yet, are you?
We're holding off a little bit.
Holding off. Very good. All right. Now, look, Zen, I really appreciate you joining me today. Obviously, someone who's had 20 plus years in the property market. And as I mentioned, you've been a bit of a trailblazer. I know in my time working at Reventon that you were very early on the Perth market, midway through or towards the end of late last year. So I'm really looking forward to seeing your presentation that you prepared for us today. Before we get into that, just a little bit of housekeeping for our viewers today. We're aiming to be about 45 minutes on our session today, and we will have an opportunity for Q&A at the end. So throughout the presentation, feel free to ask some questions in the Q&A, and hopefully Zen and I can get to majority of them. If we can't, we'll endeavour to get back to you at a later date. But without further ado, Zen, I know you've got something prepared for us. If you'd like to share your screen.
Fantastic.
Okay, looks like we've got you now.
Excellent. Before I do get started, Tim, I'll just give our viewers a bit of a background on myself. I've been involved in the industry now since 2005. Started my investment journey personally back in the early 2000s. So I've had a keen interest in real estate investment. It's something that I've been looking at for over 20 years now. Started my journey in real estate investments back in early 2005. Where I worked with an organisation very similar to Reventon, where they were looking after people's wealth creation. We were looking at different properties. Predominantly was based here in Victoria, but after joining Reventon, which I did do last year, we've really had a strong national focus. So again, to just touch on, I suppose, some of my experience in the industry. I worked in that field, going out and seeing everyday Australians in their homes and assessing assets and liabilities, talking to them about different opportunities when it comes to property investment. So it's something that I had a keen interest in. And over the years, it's a skill that I've been able to develop a lot of knowledge in that period. I've been able to speak to a number of different Australian families about their current financial circumstances, about retirement analysis and so on. So it's something that I have a wealth of experience in. I started originally in the sales arm in the organisation, but soon moved into management after 12 months, where I was looking after around about 20 consultants through real estate and mortgage broking industry, and also client services. So I started my own business back in 2008, doing what we do here at Reventon. And again, during that period, I was able to help over 1,500 individuals and families across the country look at property investment as a vehicle to help them build wealth towards retirement. So just thought I'd touch on some background about myself, just to give the viewers a bit of an understanding to, I suppose, my experience in the industry and things like that.
Sure.
Started with Reventon early last year, and moved into some market research, where I was able to work alongside with yourself during that period as well, Tim, which was fantastic for my development in the organisation as well. And now I oversee finance, property, client services, and the everyday operations here at Reventon as well. So that's a little bit about myself. I'll talk to you a little bit about Reventon and what we do, as an organisation with our clients. So we're a holistic financial services organisation. We've got over 18 years of operating experience in the investment industry, and our team of experienced professionals help provide advice regarding property investment. And we look at areas of growth and give people an opportunity to make an informed decision based on research that we've done in properties across the country as well. So our company is highly focused on investment property growth, and we understand the importance of collaborations between not only the right builders, but also the right land developers as well. So that's something that we've had a huge focus on here at Reventon, and it's something that we will continue to do into the future as well. So Western Australia, just to give our viewers a little bit of an overview about Western Australia, at the moment, population is just short of 2.8 million, and the goal by 2050 is to have that up to 3.5 million. So around about over 700,000 new people moving into the Western Australian region. And so we've had a look at, I suppose, the market in Western Australia, a look at a number of different locations where we've seen some sales activity, where we've seen growth and development with different infrastructure going into Western Australia as well. We've been able to identify a number of shires in Western Australia, and we're going to cover some of those today through the presentation. But we're generally looking at a proximity of around about 40 to 50 kilometres from Perth CBD. So about a 30-minute drive into the CBD as well, about 20 minutes away from Fremantle. And many of these suburbs actually front the coastline, so not too far from the coastline as well. So great lifestyle, amenities and things like that is something what obviously helps real estate prices increase as well. So that's something that we've been able to identify. The city of Rockingham is an area where we've been looking at, and myself personally have been up there probably 4 times in the last 6 months, talking to different builders, land developers, and also people on the ground with retailers, and just getting a good understanding of, I suppose, what's happening in the areas, what infrastructure have been put in the area, the different growth and development in those suburbs, and really taking a hands-on approach before we actually started looking into taking our investors into that market. So in the past 6 months, we have done a large volume of sales in that area in WA, and we hope that that will continue over the course of the next 12 to 18 months with population increases, and obviously the Western Australian government looking to bring in skilled migration into the state as well. That's something that we believe is going to continue to drive investors, first home buyers, and people moving into Western Australia as well.
And just to jump in for a moment, and I know one of the main drivers for you to look at Western Australia, outside of all the things you're about to talk about in this presentation, no doubt, but I know obviously with 11 consecutive rate rises, yield is a really big thing for investors now, and that was something that Western Australia was, had in trumps, because if we're looking at a lot of other markets around the country, as the interest rates were skyrocketing, the cost of holding properties became a lot more relevant, and I think that was one of the main drivers that you chased over in Western Australia, was looking at rental yields. Am I correct?
That's something that's obviously very important, and again, just highlighting what you were talking about, 11 consecutive rate rises is something that we haven't seen for a very, very long time. And when we're looking at property investment, there's a number of different factors that we'll take into consideration. Not only growth, rental yield is obviously very important. Migration into a state is very important for us. And when we're looking at properties, the minimum yield that you want to be looking at is between that 4 to 5%. And what we found in Western Australia, and why we were so keen on looking into Western Australia for our clients as property investment, was the fact that the yields were all around that 6 to 7%, which is significantly higher than most states in Australia at the moment. So again, the holding costs, being able to multiply your investments is something that's very important for us as an organisation. It's very important for us to be talking to our clients about diversification, looking at how they can build and grow their portfolio, knowing that there's a specific amount of time that someone may have in the workforce, and how we're going to be able to maximise that as well, which was really important to the push for us moving into WA as well. I hope I answered that for you, Tim.
No, you did. It's great.
Fantastic. So I'll just go through a few things here. Obviously, some of the key projects and infrastructure that's been put into Western Australia is significant. So the infrastructure investment pipeline, the government's investing over $27 billion into 1,430 different infrastructure projects. So extensive private sector investment dedicated to the resources of projects in WA as well, which is obviously a leading indicator to why you want to look at different locations like that as well. So not just government spending, but also private organisations moving into an area is something that is key to driving property prices up as well. So that was,
I think that's a really big point. Just private sector actually investing as well shows a level of sentiment, doesn't it? It shows that they've got confidence in it as well. When government, we can see that it's happening today with the inland rail line that's going through the centre of Australia, where it's just completely over budget. Governments are going to spend money, but the fact that you've got private infrastructure that's going into these areas is really critical.
Well, it's an indicator to a number of different factors to how property prices are going to increase in a specific area at a certain time. So that's something that when we're looking at different locations, there needs to be a number of different boxes that we tick before we head into those areas. And WA did tick a lot of those boxes. So that's the reason why we have done a lot of business there over the past 6 months, and will continue to do so. So again, just to touch on some of their infrastructure projects. So the Perth City Links, it's a construction of a new railway line into the heart of Perth. So new buses, train stations, new underground pedestrian link, which costs around $1.86 billion. It will create over 3,000 jobs during its construction, and also have 1,000 ongoing jobs as well, which is fantastic for the residents of Perth as well. The Forest Field Airport link, so construction of an 8-kilometre new track with 3 stations generating around about 2,000 jobs during its construction, and also another 400 ongoing jobs as well. So they also have the North Link in Western Australia, which is the construction of a new highway that will link Perth's northern suburbs to the city and airport. Again, another key piece of infrastructure which will help drive property prices and population to Western Australia as well. So why Western Australia? We have covered a number of these topics, Tim, but I'd like to touch on it for the viewers. Perth now has the lowest unemployment rates in the nation, so it's under 4% at about 3.6%. Economic growth and strength, so prosperous economy is backed by substantial population growth, and the government has also implemented measures to encourage skilled migration into the state as well, which we think is going to be a key factor to driving property prices up as well, but also again keeping unemployment at a low rate as well. So affordability, Perth's median weekly household income surpasses Victoria, South Australia and Queensland, and there's a thriving job market. In October 2022, there was just short of 32,000 job vacancies. Again, so there's plenty of opportunity for employment in the state as well. So the tourism sector in Western Australia has experienced the most impressive growth, with visitors to Perth compared to any other major Australian cities as well. And we expect that to continue. Resources and energy. So as you know, Tim, Western Australia serves as a vital international hub for mining and the resources sector as well. It holds the position of the world's largest producer of lithium. It's foremost producer of iron and ore, and it also ranks third in the world for the production of liquefied natural gas as well. So there's thriving exports coming out of Western Australia, and that accounts for 44% of the goods exported from Australia in 2022, which is significant.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting, for a long period, the east coast of Australia they thought of Western Australia purely as that resources boom, but it does go to show with what you're going through today that it's got a lot more to it now. And I know we recently just saw in the media in the last couple of weeks that Australia's just done a free trade agreement with India, and I think that's going to be a really strong thing for the West Australian coast moving forward too.
Certainly will be. Fantastic. So the Perth residential market analysis, just to touch on a few points there. The median house price is 43% to 143% lower than Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane. And Perth is obviously a highly sought after location for those looking to enter the property market, not only in relation to its affordability, as we were speaking about previously, but also in relation to the rental returns that people are receiving in the greater region of Perth as well.
Just to quickly comment on that one as well, something that I get asked quite a lot is that whilst the market and all the media is talking doom and gloom around property prices, and we've seen a demise in maybe some markets, Melbourne, Sydney certainly felt the pinch of this with the consecutive rate rises. But why are some of these other markets around Australia still continuing to grow? And I think you've highlighted here the median price points is a big one, because no matter where you live in Australia, the interest rate that you have is going to be the same. If you pick somebody up who's a teacher or a tradie and move them from one city of Melbourne to a city of Adelaide or Perth, and the only thing that really changes is the median price of their house. So why can those markets continue to grow? It's because they're with the current lending in place, people can afford to pay more. Whereas in Melbourne and Sydney, even if we want to pay more for some of these houses, we just can't get the lending to do so. So we have seen a noticeable flight to affordability over the last 6 to 8 months.
And a lot of property experts, Tim, are predicting that Perth property market over the course of the next 4 years will receive around about 30% growth. To be able to receive 30% growth during, I suppose, a period of interest rate rises, a number of different factors in relation to shortage of material, shortage of labour and things like that, is definitely a testament to what a lot of experts are predicting is going to happen in WA as well. So that's another thing to note for our viewers as well. So the rental market, we did touch on that briefly, Tim, but I will go through a couple key points that again are leading indicators to why we have been so invested in the Perth market in the past 6 months. And this was research that we were doing previous to us actually heading up into WA as well. So land prices, watching land prices across the country, and seeing where we could, I suppose, sort of find that hotspot when it came to investors. And for our clients, we're generally looking for properties that are priced at that $450,000 to $650,000 mark for affordability purposes. And we've been able to identify that in Western Australia. So just to go through some of the rental market analysis. So the rental market in WA has been remarkably strong over the last 4 years. The vacancy sits as low as 0.6, indicating a high demand for rental properties in the area. And Perth's rental yields, as we were saying previously, they're significantly higher than other capital cities in relation to its median house price as well. So important things to note for our viewers as well today. So one of the locations that we're highlighting in today's presentation is the suburb of Baldivis. So it's located south of Perth. So it's a segmented market which has shown unparalleled capital growth in recent years. There's been a lot of sales activity in the area as well, which has been fantastic for the area of Baldivis. There's low investment entry points and high demand for rentals in the area, and very low vacancy rates as well. So it boasts an array of modern facilities and amenities in the suburb of Baldivis, with top-rated schools, shopping centres, medical facilities, and also recreational facilities. Also, the suburb, again, is not too far from the coast of WA as well. So it offers people that are looking to get into the investor market some great leisure activities with being so close to the coast as well. Some of the amenities are 3 shopping malls in the area. So the Baldivis Shopping Centre, Baldivis Square, which is a new shopping centre located in the heart of Baldivis. There's also Stockland in Baldivis as well. And some of the retail outlets there are Coles, Woolworth, there's Aldi, Big W, a number of different variety stores in there as well, a Kmart, a Target, a Bunnings Warehouse as well. So all your major shopping outlets there in the heart of Baldivis as well as local markets, which encourage community activity as well, which is fantastic. One of the suburbs there in Baldivis has a park in every 250 metres in the suburb, which is something that not many land developers are actually doing. So that's Baldivis Parks, one of the areas where a lot of our investors have been looking into as well. There's country fairs, twilight markets in relation to medical facilities as well. There's a medical centre, there's a health and wellness centre, vet hospital, and pharmacies throughout the suburb of Baldivis as well.
It's worth noting, I know in that location, we're talking about private investment going into the areas as well. We're not talking about small little developers that are, ripping up an old farm site. We're talking big name projects, your Stocklands, and a lot of the other big name Australian land developers have moved into this location. And of course, they don't just go in there and cut up land, they master plan it. They're putting in schools, they're putting in allowances for big shopping complexes and all that. And I know a lot of that's already gone in, so.
And it was something that I suppose being on the ground was was great for us. I actually took the sales team up to WA on my last trip just to take them around, to have a chat with some of the land developers. Fraser's Properties are doing a lot of land development in the area as well. So we were able to be on the ground, have a chat to the land developers, see what's going on with sales activity in the area, see how things are progressing in relation to titling of land and so on and so forth, which we know across the country there's been a number of different delays with land titles and things like that. So going up there, having a look at how things were progressing and how things were moving along has really given us here at Reventon a great opportunity to talk to our clients about that. And it's given us, I suppose, a lot of conviction when we're talking to our clients about projects that are. These are the projects that are upcoming. These are the stages. These are the time frames that they've set to complete those stages, and actually seeing them tick those boxes off has been great for the entire sales team here at Reventon. So some of the amenities, again, the recreation facilities. We spoke about Baldivis Parks having a park every 250 metres in the development, which again is something that not many land developers will actually do. They could cut up a lot of those blocks as opposed to having those recreational areas, but it's really encouraging young families to look into those areas. The median age group for the area is around about 36. So there's a lot of young working families in the area as well moving into it. So there's a children's forest in the area, obviously the parks, there's a lake in the area. The nearby beaches are Rockingham Beach, Singleton Beach, and Port Kennedy Beach as well. Accessibility and connectivity to the major freeways as well. So it's just near the Corona freeway, which allows easy access to Perth's CBD. There's a direct route to Perth Airport at the moment, and obviously the new construction with the roads going in there as well. So it's situated near Perth's Mandurah rail line as well. So buses throughout the suburb, but also train stations not far away as well, which is fantastic for local residents as well.
Very good.
So just to touch on, I suppose, dealing with the right developers, dealing with, I suppose, the right building organizations and things like that is something that probably in the last 12 to 18 months is really something that most organizations need to put a lot of research into. We've been fortunate to be able to do that research before we actually headed into the market, and that was the reason why I was up there a number of times to meet with some different land developers and builders to partner up with over there in WA, and we've selected a few that we're actually working with, but predominantly doing a lot of work through B1 Homes, which is a company that's been fantastic to our clients. It's been and got some fantastic reviews as well. It's backed by the resources of financial stability of a Fortune 500 company as well. So it's got a proven track record for building high quality homes. They offer a 9-month build guarantee, which is something that, again, not too many builders are willing to do these days, with shortage of trades, materials, and so on. So when looking at real estate through Reventon and looking into the WA market, predominantly we will be working with B1 Homes. So it will obviously give our clients the confidence that their investment home will be built to the exact specifications that they're requesting, with quality materials, great workmanship as well. And the company's obviously committed to delivering exceptional homes as well. So that's been that's been something that's been a huge focus for us. Understanding the developers that we're going to work alongside with, and really heading over there to the state, getting on the ground, actually going through the developments, having a look at a number of different homes throughout construction as well, and seeing a number of different examples that the B1 Homes has been able to deliver. So just to give you an example of a client that B1 Homes delivered a house for, they actually signed a contract in late September of last year, and the property is was ready for handover about 2 weeks ago. So to be able to deliver a product like that, again, very similar to some of the investment homes.
And then tell me, for the viewers that are interested in, new build, obviously there are, a lot of concerns around, what's happening in the market with supply chain issues, obviously news of Porter Davis and things like that. Now, I know Reventon does a lot of due diligence on the builders, including, delinquency reports and things like that. So I know that you do the research from that, but I think there's probably an element of understanding what the difference of building any home in Western Australia is compared to building over here. Because I know there's a lot that's different. I mean, over here, we find a block of land, we pay a 10% deposit, we pay a 5% build. How is it different in Western Australia? Because I know it differs a lot.
Well, construction, it differs in construction, it differs in relation to how much money you're outlaying for their investment. So the majority of properties, people are able to actually secure them with $1,000 on the land, and generally $3,000 as a build deposit. So for $4,000, they're able to secure an allotment and prepare.
Well, for $4,000, you're securing an investment worth $500,000, for instance. So it's a big thing. But every one of those contracts is also subject to finance as well. Where over here in Victoria, I know we can nominate, but you don't even need to worry about those types of things when it's subject to finance across the land and the builder. So pretty much as low risk as possible. And there's no other state that does that, from what I understand.
Again, in this environment, that's something that is very important for clients looking at investments. So understanding that, obviously we'll do our due diligence in making sure that the client is able to secure loans before actually looking at purchasing the investments and things like that as well. But again, having that security, knowing that things are subject to.
Well, I think that, in this financial market that we're in with lending, one concern that people have, and I think it's quite fair, is that if I was to buy a block of land today and I need to settle in 6 months time, 8 months time, 12 months time, I'm not settling in the same market that I'm buying in. And will my lending actually allow me to actually settle that property? And that is a concern for a lot of consumers out there. And I think you alleviate that completely by going to Western Australia.
And I think it's been a challenge for a lot of estate agents when they're looking at investments that maybe would be settling in a 6 to 12 month period, or land titles being pushed out and things like that as well. So I think Western Australia is a fantastic choice when it comes to that, because of that flexibility and sort of that peace of mind, knowing that in the event that something happens that was out of your control, you're not going to be held to that contract as well,
or losing any deposits either. Just on the subject of titles as well, how far away are the traditional packages that you're seeing in the Western Australian market at the moment?
Well, we've been predominantly looking at pieces that are titled.
Okay.
So ready to build on right away. But the furthest out we're looking these days is around about 3 months to title.
Oh. I mean, you get a pre-approval that'll last that long.
So we're July, August is the latest that we've been actually looking at, but predominantly we're trying to find a lot of title pieces, and because of the interest that we've had in WA, and obviously the reputation that the organisation has of being in the industry for over 18 years, working with a number of land developers that not only work in Western Australia, but they've also worked in across the country as well. We've been able to cement some fantastic relationships with. We've been able to find a lot of pieces that are actually titled now, or the furthest out we're heading is to June, July.
That's really good.
Again, with rising rates and things like that, we didn't want to look at a stock that was titling in 12 months' time, and regardless to clients having, I suppose, the option of getting out and having it all subject to finance and things like that. The goal is, once someone's made a decision to be able to look at investment, you want to make sure that their goals and their ambitions would come to light as well. So that's why we're really focusing on making sure that we can find pieces that are going to be titling either immediately or over the course of the next 8 to 12 weeks.
Very good. Just quickly, we have got some questions coming through, so I do recommend anybody who wants to continue to add to the Q&A. We will be stopping for some questions in about 15 minutes. So keep the questions coming. There's some questions in there around land sizes and build sizes and things like that, which I'm sure you'll get to, Zen. So we'll continue on, but keep the questions coming.
Fantastic. Okay. So as a special offer for our viewers today, for the first 2 purchases that have a look at something through Reventon Investments, we are going to give them a free $10,000 upgrade, okay, which includes higher ceilings throughout, Dakin air conditioning, and just our base package alone, Tim, is different to a standard turnkey package. So we're talking about properties that are ready for tenants to move into. But we've obviously added some inclusions which we think are not only important for investors going forward, but also looking into the future. If someone's looking to realise some of the growth on their property after a 5, 6, 7 year period, they wanted to sell down the property, we wanted to make sure that when we're looking at these properties, that it was important that it not only appeals to an investor, but also appeals to an owner-occupier as well. So I will touch base on something that we spoke about before, Tim, and the difference between builds in some states. So a lot of our viewers may not know, but in WA, all homes are built double brick internal and external walls. So their building process is a little different to how it is in most states in Australia. So actually going up there and being on the ground and having a look at, I suppose, what a home looks like that is double brick throughout was something for myself that I haven't seen here in Australia. It's something that a lot of builders do overseas in Europe as well, but bringing that, I suppose, to WA and seeing how they're constructing their homes as well, It also adds to the energy rating of the home as well, the warranties of the home, things like that as well. So I just thought I'd touch base on that just before we go through some of the inclusions that we do have on our Reventon base package as well. So 900 mil appliances is an upgrade that we've put through as opposed to the 600 mil appliances as well. So stone bench tops to the kitchen, again, is something that appealing to not only investors, but also owner occupiers as well. Premium vinyl floorboards to the kitchen as well. The walk-in pantry, living, dining, hallways, and also the eatery and scullery, the entry and scullery as well. Premium carpets with underlay to all bedrooms, tiles to all wet areas. Internal wall painting, Tim, is an additional extra in WA, so something that a lot of viewers might not know, but something that a lot of people in Victoria think, okay, well, that's standard in a home.
It's like advertising the brand new car with free air conditioning, I think.
So that's something that's an additional extra in WA as well. So mirrored sliders to all of the robes in the rooms as well. Blinds and window treatments to all the windows throughout as well, excluding the wet areas. Front landscaping and fence package as well. Rear landscaping and a reticulation package as well, and a Reventon lease ready package as well, which is a dishwasher, antenna, aerial, clothesline, and letterbox as well. So that's just some of the base inclusions that we have. And as I said, for the first two people to jump on the offer today, we've got, as I said, a fantastic relationship with B1 Homes, and we've been able to negotiate a free $10,000 upgrade, which will include the higher ceilings throughout and also split system air conditioner in the living area as well.
Very good. Now, I know you haven't included specific packages on this because they get packaged up individually, but I know, it's probably worth us talking about a range. Like, what sort of price points are we looking at with these homes?
So the price points, again, depending on the size, the allotment of land as well, but starting at around about 480,000, we can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, double garage on an allotment between just under 200 square meters up to 350 square meters. And we've got our 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom, double garage at around about, starting at, we've had some in the past month at low 500s. But if we're looking for a larger allotment, we're probably in the range of about $530,000 for a larger allotment in there as well. And all the way up to 600,000, depending on the land allotment and the size of the dwelling that we're looking at. So most of the dwellings are around about 15 to 21 squares that we're talking about. So again, that does depend on the allotment, configuration, things like that as well.
One thing that's worth noting, especially for our, maybe Victorian and Queensland listeners, those block sizes might sound small to what they're used to, but it's worth noting Adelaide's much the same. Adelaide and WA, we do see what we would usually call in these markets a small housing code, but it's becoming a lot more common. And I suppose what's worth noting is you wouldn't want to be owning, a small block of a 200 metre square block if everybody else is a 600, but it's quite common throughout the estate. So yours isn't going to stand out as being a small block when they're all quite similar like that. And obviously you're still getting a very good yield out of a product like that. So I know, you're not intentionally just going for a small block. You're looking for something that's going to make the best dollars and cents on paper.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Ticking all of those boxes in that sense. And as you were stating before, Tim, when the majority of the allotments these days have changed. And size of allotments definitely differ to what they did 2 years ago or 5 years ago. And again, affordability is this huge thing.
And look, I think when you talked about the the parks, and I think it was a Fraser's Park that's got the parks, Fraser's Estate rather, that's got the parks every 250 metres. So, we're not needing big backyards in a lot of these locations anymore because the kids are going out and playing into these, state parks that are throughout the location. So Thank you very much for that, Zen. Obviously, Zen has his contact details on page there. Feel free to reach out either through the 1300 number or his direct mobile there. And then obviously, yeah, there's a really good offer there for 10,000 big ones if anyone's interested in buying one of those house and land packages. Zen, we have got quite a few messages to get through. I know we don't have a heap of time left, but what we might do is start with Michael's question. Thank you so much for this informative presentation. It seems like we've been pushing the Perth market for some time now. How long until the cycle swings to declining? He's saying that he's got a client who's interested in $400,000 investments around the Armidale. So do you have any thoughts on that, Zen?
Well, again, nobody has a crystal ball in relation to when prices will increase or decline. So we can only look at research and I suppose what are some of the leading indicators to why property prices will either increase or decrease. And from all of our research and all of the due diligence that has been done, we see steady incline. And as I was saying, a number of property experts over the course of the next 4 years predict that property prices in WA will grow to about 30%, which is maybe a little different to a number of other states across the country as well. In relation to declining, if there's migration heading into a state, there's employment opportunities in a state, and obviously with a lot of government assistance with looking at bringing in skilled migrants into a location as well. That's all something that takes a number of years to come to fruition. So in relation to a decline, I can't really talk to the fact of when that would happen or when we would see that happening. I really think if property is affordable in an area and there is sales volume in that area, we will continually see increases. And in the past 6 months, we've seen some increases in land prices as sales activity has grown as well. So I think as long as things are affordable and in the foreseeable future, things still seem to be affordable in WA, I think we're going to be seeing growth as opposed to heading the other way. I
tend to echo that sentiment as well. I was reading an article this morning, Michael Madrasic, who was saying the population growth, it's been widely reported about all this skill migration coming across. However, just in population growth alone, not just reliant on internationals, we're looking at between 2023 to 2033, our population is going to grow by about 500,000, just short of 500,000 people per year. And a lot of the people that are going to be adding to the population will be settling in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and Perth, the fourth one. So, I do see that we'll be continuing to see some good growth in these markets because of that flight to affordability. It's what people can afford. Housing is an absolute necessity. So, it's not like a share where we can either take or leave it. House is something that we all require.
Yeah, and WA covers obviously a huge portion of land in Western Australia, but Perth and its surrounding suburbs is where the majority of the population will actually head into, and there'll obviously always be a number of people heading into mines and so on and so forth with your sort of fly in and fly out. But as noted through the presentation, I think there's going to be a lot of different employment opportunities opening up in WA, and the migration through Asia and India throughout it is going to be something that I think is going to be prominent in WA.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Sharan, I hope I've said that name correctly, has got a question. Has the pandemic made people look differently at Perth in a different light, not just a mining town? Would capital growth still be directly related to commodity prices, or is there a bigger picture in play now? You probably talked to a few of those things today, but is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
Well, look, I really think, as we covered in the presentation, that WA now has a diverse employment, and it's not solely reliant on its mining sector, although it is a huge employer in the Western Australian region. There's a lot of private investment going into the area, a lot of government spending going into the area as well, and it seems to be a more desirable location.
I think on the mining front as well, Zen, in the past mining boom, it was all, off the back of your iron ore, and a lot of that still getting bought from China. Whereas, now we've got, the largest lithium mine in the world over there. And why is that important? Australia's way behind when it comes to electronic vehicles in comparison to the rest of the developed world. And obviously the lithium's a really big part of those electrical vehicle batteries. So, it is a growing market, and I think it's something that's going to be there for the foreseeable future. But it's not like Western Australia's only propped up by that industry anymore. It's got a lot more to go. We have another question from Anonymous, but number one, coming from someone new to Australia, there's a perception based on conversations last year that the north is a better place to invest in comparison to the south, talking suburbs around Perth. That's the first question. And the second one is, what are your views on south beyond the 10-kilometre radius? Not as far as Rockingham, but maybe a little bit closer in areas like Cockburn.
Again, we've really focused on the area of Rockingham, just because we've seen a lot of volume sales happening in that area as well. There is a number of different locations through WA where we will see price growth as well. But what I would say to the viewers is, talking to someone who's an expert in the field, doing your due diligence, asking the right questions in relation to that suburb, seeing what's gone on with sales activity, volume, employment, what different infrastructure is being put into an area as well, it is going to help you make informed decisions. And whether the north is going to see greater growth than what the south is, again, it's really dependent on some of those factors that we were talking about then.
Yeah. The next one was, for suburbs like Eglinton, is it a good suburb for investment purposes? Are you familiar with that, Eglinton?
Eglinton has been an area where a few of our developers have been putting together some packages for us there as well. But again, looking at, I suppose, what's actually going into the area, again, not to be on repeat, but seeing the different infrastructure and things like that is going into that the Eglinton area, it is going to help influence you making a decision on purchasing in that area as well. Looking at the land developers' titles in that area as well. Who are the different land developers that are going in there? Are they delivering on their promises to settling the land that they said was going to settle over the course of the next month, 6 months, or whatever it may be? Yeah. They're the most important things when you're looking at property investment. So looking at the organizations that you're working with, looking at the deliverables of those organizations would be really important. And yes, we are getting a lot of developers are reaching out to us. Eglinton has been a suburb that a few people have actually put together some packages that they're presenting us with as well. So it is a good location. Whether the yield is up to where Maldives is at the moment, it's probably not there. So yes, great location.
I think it's I think it's a really valid point that when people are thinking about where to invest, it's not just about that location as well, but literally 79% of Australian property investors never get past the first investment property. They buy one and they can't replicate the process. And one of the big factors behind that, obviously growth is important, but also cash flow. If people can't afford to get to the second stage because the first one's costing them too much, it's really hard to replicate that, portfolio growth. And I think, I know your brother Chris has said this a long time. He says property investment is like riding a bike. It's like changing gears. The first one's the hardest, and as you start to get better and you push through the gears, it gets easier. And if you get that first one wrong, you don't get the right cash flow and you don't get growth, then it can really stall the ability to go and replicate that process again. So I know one of the reasons you're tackling Maldives is purely because we do get a really strong rental yield out of locations like that at its current price point.
I think understanding different people's circumstances and situations knowing that if you've got a specific amount of time remaining in the workforce, what is going to get you from that first one to that second one at a faster pace?
Yeah.
Understanding that there's a number of different factors just to go over, I suppose, what you were talking about, Tim. It's not just growth within the property. How are we going to duplicate? How are we going to diversify? How are we going to reduce risk? There's a number of different factors. So when looking at property investment, I say the same thing to the thousands of people that I've seen over the years, is get the information. Get the information from someone who's been in the game for a long time and has spoken to thousands of people about property investment, has success stories within their organization, understands the importance of data and research before looking into a location. And that's something that an organization like Reventon does. So a huge reason to why you lean on company resources for.
And I think what's important is don't take our word for it. You jump on, you do your own research, even Google reviews and all that type of thing. I know, the proof's in the pudding. A company that's been around since 2005, like Reventon, have been able to do this for thousands of clients, and they're telling the story as well. So anybody, if it's not Reventon and you're looking at any other companies out there, make sure you do your own due diligence and make sure you speak to clients that have been through the process and seen some success. Zen, probably got time for maybe one or two more. I've got one from Rob. Rob is asking, what does ceiling height 30C mean?
Ceiling height's 30C. So that 28 and 30, this is how they measure ceiling heights in WA. So 2590 is ceiling height at
26C.
Yep. And 30C is an upgrade of ceiling height at 2590.
So would I be right in saying it's a 3 metre, is it?
No, it's below that. It's 2590. So.
Oh, it is 2590, so it doesn't actually relate to the millimetres at all. Interesting. Okay, we've got time for one more. Normally, Western Australia is considered as a cyclical market and a bit risky compared to other states. What has changed since 2014 downturn? And it gives us confidence to invest in Western Australia. I think we probably have covered quite a bit of that today, but is there anything you'd like to sort of cover off on that before we finish things up, Zen?
I really think population growth has something that has changed that. Again, industry, government spending, private sector spending. We did touch on the naval base as well. There's a number of different things that have really changed the WA market, and affordability, as we were talking about through the presentation. Affordability in WA it's quite affordable to actually purchase in WA versus some of the other states across the country. If you're a teacher and you work in WA, you get paid pretty much the same as a teacher that works in Victoria and New South Wales, but the cost of living is a little bit different as well. Yeah.
Very good. Well, that's about all the time we've got time for today. There is quite a few questions in there. We've had a really good engagement out of our viewers today. So what I will do is I will be sharing the questions that we haven't answered with Zen, and Zen will reach out to those who have asked. I will say, though, there are some that have come through and you haven't put down your name. It says anonymous attendee, so he won't be able to get back to you there. So my recommendation would be that you go to him. So Zen, your contact details on screen there. You've got the 1300 number and zen@reventon.com.au. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think our viewers, judging by the poll, got a lot out of that today. So really appreciate your time, and we look forward to having you again sometime.
Thanks, Tim. Really appreciate you having us on, and hopefully the viewers got a bit out of today. And as you were saying, reach out. Let's have a chat. Let's have a conversation. Let's open some dialogue and see if us here at Reventon can give you guys a hand going forward with your property journey.
If you do it quick enough, you might get $10,000 of free value too.
First two, Tim. First two.
Good on you. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll chat to you soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.